analyst, Mike Mayock. Mike, when you look at the draft for the Jets, what do you project?
Well, I mean, they're sitting at 6, and I think if they had the best of all worlds, Chris Long would fall to them. And if Chris Long doesn't go 2 to St. Louis, there's a chance he could fall to them. So I think that would be their #1 priority. I think #2, the way I look at it, is they need offensive playmakers. And I'm not a Darren McFadden guy, but if McFadden fell to 6 and Chris Long wasn't there, I think they'd really have to look at him just because he brings an explosion and an athletic acceleration they don't have right now. So I think they're their first couple of choices. Vernon Golston would be another possibility as a rush linebacker. If those 2 or 3 guys are gone, then #1, he's a rush linebacker and what they do in the 3-4. #2, he's intelligent. #3, he's the hardest working kid in the draft. And the most important thing to me that people underestimate is he's an athletic freak. And people tend to get caught up with, oh, he's an overachiever because he's got a great motor. He's an achiever. And he jumped close to 40 inches. He ran 4.71 at 272 pounds. Make no mistake about Chris Long. He's an athletic freak with a great motor, an intelligent kid, and he plays every play like it's the last play he'll ever play.
Now, when you look at Darren McFadden, why aren't you as high on him as other people are?
Probably because I try to wear the GM hat for the fan, so the fan understands what the clubs think about. One of the major things they have to look at is the money has gotten so out of whack for the rookies. If you have a top 5 or top 10 pick, if that guy is a bust, if that guy's a Pac-Man, if that guy's a Michael Vick, your franchise can almost be destroyed. His off-the-field issues for me say I don't take him off my board, but I push him down where the risk-reward scenario is more palatable for me. I also think as a player, he has great burst, great acceleration, can hit the home run, but I think he's got a narrow-framed lower body, and I think he goes down too easily with arm tackles. But that's kind of picking nits more than anything.
Okay, let's turn to the Giants at the end of the draft. What do you project for them?
31's hard to project now, okay?
Well, listen, you're a draft guru. So.
Nobody's a draft guru. I think that you look at them and they need to address a couple things at 31. And what wide receiver do they like, #1? Can they find a true #1 receiver opposite Plaxico? Because everybody rolls coverages to Plaxico. Stevie Smith did a good job last year at the end of the year. But can they find that wide out at 31? I don't like any of them at 31, the wideouts, but the Giants have to define that. And then #2, what about the safety position? And I think the 2 guys that make sense, they're either Tyrell Johnson, who's my favorite safety from Arkansas State, or Kenny Phillips from the University of Miami. So I think sitting at 31, the whole thing is you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to understand you've got 3 or 4 needs you're hoping to satisfy, but who's the best player on your board?
Now, if you were them, would you try to trade out of the first round, or do you think at that position, in terms of the money and what you could get, maybe if you had a pick, would you stay where you are?
I think this draft is really good. Probably one of the best drafts from a depth perspective that I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, through about picks 70 to 80. I think it starts to drop off after that. So it depends what you're offering me to move up to 31. 31's a valuable pick. If you're giving me some picks after 75, I probably am not as interested. If I can pick up a couple of picks between 31 and 70, yeah, then I've got an interest. But again, the Giants have to define who they want and whether or not he's there at 31. That's the first one.
Great. Mike Mayock at the NFL Network. Thanks for joining us at 1050 ESPN New York.
My pleasure.